The 2020 Investec Super Rugby competition is proudly brought to you by Placemakers.
Kia ora, hello and welcome to FMG Stadium in Hamilton. We are in round 2 in the 25th season of Super Rugby as the defending champion Crusaders travel north to take on a familiar foe in the Chiefs. This rivalry has become one of the best in Super Rugby and these two teams really failed to deliver a quality contest. Yes, just week 2 in Super Rugby, but the two undefeated New Zealand sides meet head-to-head here in Hamilton. It is a very nice evening for rugby, a little bit blustery, but there are plenty of fans on hand as the Chiefs, after a good win against the Blues last week, come home undefeated, their first game at home. And we are on the concourse once again. We shouldn't forget the Crusaders, so very, very good in Nelson against the Waratahs, the defending champions. Yes, they've won 3 in a row. They are chasing their 4th title under Scott Robertson. Plenty to look forward to tonight. What a contest. Plenty to look forward to on your panel tonight. Justin Marshall, Stephen Bates, Mills Muliaina with me. And Mills, we're only one weekend, but everyone's talking about these two sides. They're both contenders, and tonight we get a taste of what we might see later on in this competition.
Yeah, both had early wins, and also, you know, both teams have got plenty of X factor, haven't they? But they also complement that with men that love to roll their sleeves up. So looking forward to that physical battle tonight.
Look, not the same teams that they were last year, Batesy. The fact everyone's had to make changes across the whole competition, but both of these teams in week 1 were impressive.
Yeah, they have, and if for some reason they've almost grunted their pack up, the Chiefs. A couple of injuries tonight, which don't hurt them, which hurt them a little bit in tight head. But I believe the Chiefs are a little bit more complete than they were this time last year, even though they do have a couple of injuries at the moment.
No one wants to get carried away though, Marshy. It's week 1. We know that. It's week 2 this week. Yes, there was always going to be teams who performed well in the first week, but this game here, we're going to see, I suppose, which of these two sides is maybe that little bit more settled about how they want to go about this competition.
And they've developed a real rivalry in recent years,
Serious
haven't they?
rivalry,
And
right?
you know, there's always a bit of blood spilt, and these two sides have won titles in recent years. It just adds to the spice of the game. Like you say, it's early doors, but home fixtures are really important. So the Crusaders will be keen to sneak an away win, which may be detrimental to the Chiefs later in the season.
I want to talk to you though, Marshy. Obviously big news coming out today, breaking news, the fact there's a consideration that maybe South Africa considering going out of the Rugby Championship in a few years. I mean, your initial reaction to seeing that sort of talk, look, it's a rumour, it's one article, but those have big ramifications across the game, across the globe.
I'm really pleased that you know me so well that you can hit me with the controversial question
Right
early
on
in the
start
show.
of the
That's
show.
awesome.
You can handle it better than anyone.
Look, as you know, and we've all heard, there's been plenty of rumours surrounding South Africa and what they are going to do in the future. This is just adding spice to that. Look, I think whatever they need to do for the betterment of their game, and I'm sure they'll make the right decision. No doubt that New Zealand Rugby will be interested, and we'll see how the story develops.
Well, if you think about it as well, this is the defending champ, the World Cup champions who are considering a change, and you wonder where their game might go. But there's plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about that on the breakdown, of course, on Tuesday night at 8:30 as well. Ian Foster, All Black coach, new All Black coach, will be live in studio. Looking forward to talking to him about 2020. Well, there's plenty of news on the global game. There's always plenty of news at home in preparation for Super Rugby, and tonight's game is no different. And Kirsty Stanway can keep us up to date with everything going on to tonight's big game.
Yes, good evening, Jeff. Thank you very much. Well, Scott Robertson, it is a special night for him tonight, even though he would probably be more low-key about it. But he is one win away from a ton, half a ton actually. He's on 49 wins at the moment. Here's his record, 49 wins, 3 draws and just 5 losses. And the reason why that's so significant is because he's done that all in just over 3 seasons. Quite remarkable. Along the way, he's had to make some big calls. No Richie Mo'unga tonight. No worries though, David Havili slots in there. He's played fullback, he's played on the wing, he's played on the midfield too. So what's another position? Number 10, that's the jersey that he will wear tonight, and it is going to be a very tough test because he's going up against the mercurial Aaron Cruden, who played exceptional last week as well. But let's talk about firepower, because there is no one bigger than Damien McKenzie. He returns tonight and he is so famous for that cheeky grin that he gives, that smile, and there was no smile bigger than the one when he walked into FMG Stadium today, I tell you that. He was made to wait a week. He was a late scratching last week, but this week he is ready. He is fully recovered from that knee injury and from that groin strain as well. He's good to go. That was music to the coach's ears. Warren Gatlin, he's back at home in Hamilton as well, and Mills Muliaina, he got to sit down for an exclusive interview with him during the week. But first, let's take a wee trip down memory lane.
Warren Gatlin, he took his coaching nous offshore early on. First stop, Ireland, where at the age of 35, he was appointed head coach in 1998. London came calling next, where he led Wasps to 3 consecutive titles, including the illustrious Heineken Cup in 2004. A short stint back home in New Zealand, and it was a national provincial championship with his beloved Waikato team. Before you know it, the North came calling again. His task this time, to turn Wales's fortunes around. And what happened next was quite simply remarkable. 4 Six Nations titles, including 3 Grand Slams. 12 years would see Warren take the Red Dragon to 3 Rugby World Cups, but that wasn't it. A stint with the British and Irish Lions in 2013 seen a series victory over the Australians down under. Fast forward 4 years, and where would he land up? The land of the long white cloud, New Zealand, and a series draw against the then world champion All Blacks.
Yeah, I loved playing for Waikato and used to often joke, you know, if he'd cut me open, I would bleed red, yellow and black.
Warren Gatlin just going up and got a bit of blood around the eye.
I'm very proud of my roots. Went through Hamilton Boys High and played for Hamilton Old Boys, played for Taupiti as well.
And Waikato have won the national championship.
Passionate about the area and the fans and the people, just how loyal they are, and it's great to be back.
That's it! What London Wasps have achieved is quite remarkable. They are the best team in the Northern Hemisphere. Warren Gatlin has the perfect gift.
I've been lucky enough with teams that I've been involved with, whether it's been club side or international, that we've been reasonably successful. And to me, success isn't always about winning. Success is about overachieving.
It's all over. The Welsh players celebrate. Wales have won the Grand Slam. Wales have won the Triple Crown at Twickenham.
So, you know, what are the expectations going into a season? The predictions are that you might finish in the bottom half of the table, but you finish in the top half, then that's success. You might not win it.
The whistle goes. And how much does that mean to the British and Irish Lions?
And that's what I think success is about overachieving.
Oh, Gary, huge influence on Welsh rugby, and also, of course, the British and Irish Lions as well. But you're back again.
Been a brilliant 12 years. I'm being back now. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to finish after the World Cup and go to the beach for about 6 to 7 months, and then back to the UK for the Lions in South Africa in 2021. One of the things about New Zealand, there isn't a lot of top coaching jobs. You know, you've got 5 Super Rugby teams, you've got the All Blacks. One of the things about New Zealand is that there isn't always the number of opportunities.
Yep.
And so the Chiefs come along and I went, if I don't take this now, then it might not be there in a couple of years. The motivation to come back was just the right time. And everyone talks about, have you come back because you want to be an All Black coach? No, they said that's not in my thinking. I kind of think it's the here and now, and the here and now is being involved with the Chiefs, doing well with the Chiefs. And if you do well with the Chiefs, then other opportunities come along. So what I've noticed is just, one, how young the players are, sort of blown away by the talent. Young, they want to improve, they want to get better, they're competitive. It's identifying what is really good here, and I think some of the detail here from attacking perspectives are pretty good. Defensively, we'll probably look to change things up. I know a lot of teams at the moment in New Zealand are looking at line speed and improving line speed. And ironically, and New Zealand Rugby wouldn't probably realise it with New Zealand players or New Zealand teams, we've been saying in the Northern Hemisphere for a long time, when New Zealand teams start getting line speed and start bringing line speed and more heat on defensively, that's going to be a game changer for New Zealand. Probably the biggest weakness I've seen in New Zealand Rugby since I've been has been the kicking game. And I think that's one area that, with the Chiefs, with David Hill, we're trying to work hard on improving that aspect of our game. And particularly with young players as well, they want to play and do everything. And so for me, it's kind of getting that balance between, I'll give them the licence to attack from anywhere and make the right decisions. And if that means we've got a 2-man or 3-man overlap or on our own goal line, then you've got the licence to go and to do that. But also what we need to be aware of is our game management. And the game management is that, hey, if we're going nowhere, maybe we need to find some space and get on the front foot and turn them around, put them into a corner.
Crusaders with the drop kick. It's over.
Those are the sort of things that we're working on at the moment. Not come and change everything overnight and work with structures that have been there in place and make sort of subtle changes over the period of the season, and then hopefully we can build on that over the next few years.
Well, Warren Gatland returning to the Waikato, and Mills, you caught up with him, and look, he seems really relaxed. He seems really satisfied, content where he is, and now this is his opportunity. And he's got this Chiefs mana that has been created, this legacy that is already here. But from what you've seen, is he trying to continue what has been built before him?
Oh, he certainly has, and isn't it great that it's sort of still continuing amongst the youngsters? When you talk to him, he's got a real calmly influence. You know, everything's about the players, giving the players the responsibility and making sure there's a real happy environment as well. And it's something the Chiefs have worked on over the years. So he's come back and, yes, he wants to implement his own style, but also he's given it the responsibility to the players. And it's something that was really evident when I spoke to him.
Well, you talk about the way that they've always built this culture here, and a lot of that's been about players, and he's been able to bring back one of those who understands exactly what it's all about, Marshy, and that's Aaron Cruden. You combine him with Damien McKenzie returning from injury, then all of a sudden he's got two guys to add to a group of players that the coaches before him, they developed into a strong squad. So he's got probably everything he needs to be successful.
And that's what you want as a coach, don't you? And as a team unit, to have pivots that you can revolve your game plan around. And you know, let's think way back to the likes of when Kieran Reid was playing well. The All Blacks adapted their game plan when him and Coles were on the field. It's exactly the same as Cruden and McKenzie. They step in as first receivers. McKenzie dangerous off the counter attack, but to have that guidance and that composure in a team with Cruden, maturity, some of those games that can get away from you as well as you play, good players make them count.
Yeah, and I think you did right. I'll pick up a point you just said there. I think McKenzie is back in his position he should play. I think last year he tried to play 10 for a little bit. The All Blacks realised that they need him somewhere on the field. But to me, this is his position. He just goes out there and creates the razzle. And the man on screen at the moment, Cruden, he controls everything. He's the voice. He sends when to go, when not to go. And a perfect combination for them, a controller and a guy that plays off the cuff. And they'll be dangerous if they get things right.
For me, they're getting plenty of direction. They're getting plenty of leadership. They're getting the things you are looking at, Mills. And when I see Damien McKenzie, we shouldn't forget 2018. He was the Super Rugby Player of the Year in New Zealand. First choice fullback for the All Blacks. Here's a guy who can put some pressure on some guys that played in 2019 and at the next level.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what I loved about last week, even talking to Gats about it. You know, he had a little wee sort of injury scare, but he told him, look, Gats said to him, you know, my job is to get you back in the All Blacks. And so it's that responsibility, taking that responsibility off him and just letting him go out in that field and just play his game. He's been out for a very long time, so let him go out there and just really express himself. So I think that's what he's going to do tonight.
So influential, your decision makers, so influential are your leaders. And in 2019, we saw one of the great comebacks in Sam Cane. He was one of our very best in 2019 for the Chiefs and for the All Blacks. Let's hear from Kirsty Stanway and him as they lead into tonight's big game.
Sam, first game at home for 2020 season. I suppose you don't need any more motivation than that?
No, it's pretty awesome to be here at home. Walked through the Whatanoa for the first time, so we walked across the ground, see the fans before kick-off. It's been pretty cool and pretty excited that we get the chance at the Crusaders first up here.
Yeah, this is a big game. There's been a lot of talk about this week. Do you remember when you last played them last year in Suva?
Yeah, one of the toughest games I've been involved in, just purely down to the conditions and the type of game that panned out. So no doubt that game will be in both teams' mind.
How do you build on that performance from last week?
We just got to, I suppose, start a little bit better, a little bit more clinical. We didn't sort of find our groove until early in the second half, and if we're a bit like that today, I think it'll be a bit too tough to come back from. So start well and just do our jobs. It's
been a wee while since we've seen Damian McKenzie out there. What's he been like at training?
Yeah, it's awesome to see Damian back. It's a shame he had a wee speed bump last week, but he's good to go this week. And we'll expect what we're used to from Damian. Big injury to come back from, but yeah, he's as tough as they come.
All the very best.
Cheers, thanks heaps.
Look, Sam Cane, outstanding leadership. We know what Damian McKenzie can offer this side. Batesy, I'm going to come to you. Look, Sam Cane's had to adjust his position. They needed a number 8. He's got that responsibility there. What changes for him, and can he have the same impact on the game that he usually does?
Oh, 100% he can, because you've got 2 other open sides either side, so he might not necessarily be first to rucks as he is playing at number 7, but it's still those bone-crunching defence, that hard edge that he brings to the Chiefs. That'll still be there, and as we've already mentioned, the leadership, which is perhaps second to none. Do as I do and we will be fine.
Can he be the same frontline defender, though, that he has been, but given the fact that the line's the same, Mills?
I think he can. You know, the way he sort of hits and gets himself in the close sort of channels, you know, albeit just a little bit out, I think he can. I think he still get that line speed, but his ability to be able to hit players is second to none.
A big player in big moments. Lachlan Bashir against the Blues last week, Marshy, was outstanding on the ground over the ball, and you think about having that double threat. He's found his niche, and he deserves another opportunity.
Absolutely outstanding last week, and when you got a team like the Blues who are playing so very well and you need to fight your way into the game, sometimes that's not through attack. It's through what you do in D and getting over the ball and creating turnovers and opportunities out of situations that the other team feel they're developing. And I thought last week he was outstanding. He balances really well with the rest of the back row. I think in time, Sam Cane will produce more of a running game because of it, when he knows that what Bosher can do in that position, and he'll get in the outside channels and carry a bit more like a number 8. He's probably still a little tight at the moment, but and the longer it goes on, the more he'll loosen up.
And you think when you add in a Luke Jacobson, all of a sudden you're thinking about the depth they're going to have in that position, the fact you lose forwards across a tournament like this, which has 16 games, that's a huge asset for them. Well, I think in 2019, you'd have to say Anton Leonard-Brown was one of the very best Mills in Super Rugby. His impact on the game, he established himself as a first-choice All Black. What more can he do in 2020?
Well, he just needs to step up once again. You know, he's added a bit more responsibility. He's matured a little bit more. And you was 2019, particularly when the Chiefs were struggling earlier on in those early few rounds. He stood up. He was getting them over the game line. His offload game, best in the business last year in terms of his offload. I'd like to see that continue, but I'd like to sort of see him control that back line and help out a little bit more.
And Millsy, you talk about stepping up. I mean, last week early on, the Chiefs midfield, he didn't start. They missed a lot of tackles. They also dropped a lot of pill. They let the Blues get into the game, get on top. ALB came on with other people like Cruden at halftime. All of a sudden, the momentum in that midfield changed. So you talk about him stepping up. Round 1, he's done a pretty good job.
He needs to make an impact early as well, not forgetting the fact the number of All Blacks still on minutes restrictions. Well, Mark Stafford from the TAB has a challenge on his hands tonight, but the fact that these two teams performed very well last weekend. Staffy, tell me, how have you separated these two sides for tonight's big game?
Oh, look, we barely have, Jeff. The Crusaders, the slightest of favourites at the $1.80, the Chiefs at $2. And when you have a look at the winning team and margin as well, not a lot in that. 270-6 for the Chiefs, 270-5 for the Crusaders. But the big fish is either team by 10 or less, including the draw. So that's a 20-point envelope for you, $1.60. Reese and Bridge, the All Blacks are back to combine for 2 or more tries. Combined, 1 each, 2-0, whatever, $3.50. Not bad value on that one.
Staffy, give us a special, give us something that everyone should get involved with so they can kick their Super Rugby season off week 2 with a winner.
Yeah, a couple of try scorers here. I'm calling it the happy hookers. Samasoni, Toki Aho and Cody Taylor. One of those to score the first try. Either one was paying 7. Now it's 8 from now to kick-off, Jeff.
The outstanding Staffy. I love it. Well, we're not just all about rugby union. Of course, Homeland Season 8. It premieres on Monday, February the 10th, 8:30 on Soho 2. But this weekend, Six Nations Rugby, the second weekend. Ireland taking on Wales. Live Sunday, 3 a.m. Sky Sport 1. And the women's Six Nations Rugby as well. Scotland taking on England. That's Monday morning, 1 a.m. on Sky Sport 1 as well. Cartelana is your sideline commentator tonight. Let's get the thought of Scott Robertson, the head coach of the Crusaders, for tonight's big game.
Well, Coach, a good win against the Waratahs last week, but what did you take out of that to try and improve on this week to get a result?
We got a little bit of rhythm, some combinations, and that's why we selected a similar team, and just confidence when we hold the ball, and we express ourselves, we go well.
You got David Havili in that 10 jersey. What do you want to see from him tonight?
Just his skill set. We know he can play anywhere from 10 to 15, and it gives us some real depth, and it gives Will Jordan a chance to play. To get both of them on the field, it's pretty exceptional. Dave's got an incredible boot on him and a calm head.
Now, you've been here in the Crusaders jersey, both as a player and now as a coach. What makes playing the Chiefs so hard at home?
The physicality. It's tough. You can see they've got about 18 loose forwards. Well, can't have 18, about 15 loose forwards on the field. That's what it feels like when you're at the breakdown against them. They go hard at it. They've got a lot of pride and mana, so they're great spectacles.
Good luck, eh?
Cheers. Thanks.
Well, for Scott Robertson, it's about a selection debate every week, Marshy, and this week, without Richie Mwanga, he's had to decide who's first five, but sometimes is it about getting the best players on the field? Does that explain the selection of David Havili?
I think it is to a degree. You need game-changing players out there, and David Havili is one of those. I think the second part of it, last week he showed really good maturity. He had to step up. Goal kicking was immaculate.
Yeah.
He plays a lot of 12 anyway, so he's got good vision. He sees a clear picture, and he's not flustered by a lot of traffic in his zone when he's operating. So he add to that the fact that he can defend and tackle. He's the perfect fit, and I think he's a very good choice, and he'll cause the Chiefs some problems in that jersey.
So Mills, does this mean for Will Jordan at fullback the fact that he's going to have to step up and help David Havili in terms of decision making? That's such an important role, which Havili has done so well.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I've been really impressed about with David Havili, because he feeds information in. He sort of looks up, sees the picture, and all he has to do is help that first five. All of a sudden now, he's going to have to get that information from the outsides, and Will Jordan's going to have to step up in that department.
And a first 5-8, decision-making, leadership, all the things you will need out of your players. Well, for Scott Barrett, takes the responsibility as captain. No Sam Whitelock. Batesy, you look at his season in 2019, 6 or lock. He's doing it at lock for the Crusaders. Is that his future for you?
I think of his future, can he play? I think he's a lock that can play 6, and that's what I believe he is. But you talk about his leadership, for me, he just needs to go out there and play his natural game. If they've got an edge anywhere in this game, it's probably in the tight 5. He goes out there, plays his natural game, does what he does, and the leadership will come with it, and that's the key for him.
We can talk about individual players, but tactically, which team comes into this game better? And Marshy, you identified out of last weekend's game, the Crusaders used their kick game to great effect.
They did, and when a ruthless machine like the Crusaders come at you, it's always difficult at times to get yourself into the game. So when they kick you the ball, you need to make sure that you win the battle for that, whether it's in the air or on the ground. Yes, to a degree, they're very clever, and they tactically break that kicking game down with cross kicks, with high balls, with little chips over the top, which they did last week against the Waratahs. But when they do, a big message for other teams is win that aerial battle, make sure that when they kick it to you, you win that ball, and then launch your attack. Otherwise, giving the Crusaders too much possession, when they kick and they get it back, you're on a hiding to nothing.
There is some danger, though, if you think about the Chiefs and what they've got in their backfield. You kick it to Damien McKenzie, he gets an opportunity, he can break them down. Well, of course, it's not always about the rugby. Sometimes there's plenty else going on here in Hamilton. And Kirsty, you've got some very special guests sideline with you.
Very special guests indeed. I feel very lucky to be here, and I've always wanted to say it's time to get the band back together. Well, they are truly back together. 660, the very best band going around in New Zealand and the world. In fact, Machu, I've got to come to you first. You've been with the band at training for the Chiefs. Who had pipes in that team? Because you guys did a bit of singing with them.
The Chiefs?
Yeah.
Who had pipes?
Did anyone have some,
I don't think there's anyone worth kind of giving them props about.
Is that true? Because Angus Tartavell, I know that he rates himself a wee bit. He's a bit of a performer.
Look, I'm sure he's pretty good.
I've been thinking about comparisons between rugby and music. Obviously, rugby players, they go on tour a wee bit, and so do you guys. Is there any tour stories that you can tell us?
Not on television.
No,
sorry.
okay. I didn't think there would be. It's the same with rugby, isn't it? If you were doing a walkout, say, let's try this one. If you were doing a walkout, like, boxing match or into a big arena, what would your walkout song be?
I've done that before. Mine was Hollywood swinging. You know that trick? It's good for, well, it worked for me.
Yeah.
I won, so.
Jai, for you?
Probably the greatest, right?
The greatest.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well sing the greatest before we go, right?
Oh, you got to go.
There we go,
Can you
Machu.
sing?
No,
Yeah,
I
I've
can't
heard
sing.
actually you have a quite nice voice.
Thank you so much. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Kirsty. Thanks, 660. They'll be busy tonight. There's no doubt it's happening here in Hamilton. Gentlemen, we've given you the information. We know what to talk about. I want the call now. How are you going to see it play out? We know it's close between these two teams, Batesy, but how do you see it over the course of this 80 minutes?
Well, I think, as you said, it's going to be very close. For me, the loss of Ta'avao and also Lalala for the Chiefs is massive because that would have strengthened their pack. If the Crusaders can turn it into a bit of a grind in that pack area, they'll come out on top. The Chiefs can unleash guys like McKenzie, like you've talked about. It's a Chiefs to me. It's a good crowd walking up, which will also help the Chiefs, I believe.
Two contrasting styles, I reckon. If they get loose, then the Chiefs will be all over them. The offloads, I think that's what they love to see. Up front is the big battle. The Chiefs, they'll, scrum time as well, losing those guys. If they slow it down and get physical, it'll be a Crusaders game. But I'm picking the Chiefs by 12.
You're picking the Chiefs, and you pick?
Yeah, I'm going to go the Chiefs by 6.
Yeah, so I can tell you what, their heart talking there, no doubt about that. Plenty to look forward to here. I think the Crusaders are going to be difficult. I tell you what, though, tonight we see the defending champions take on a serious contender when we come back to FMG Stadium in Hamilton. Join your commentary team, Tony Johnson, Justin Marshall and Carl Tanana. The Chiefs taking on the Crusaders, live and exclusive on the home of sport, Sky.